I knew I wanted to do a study abroad program. I knew that I wanted part of that study abroad program to be on the Camino de Santiago. So I think that's what makes this program so rich, is that we have students from different disciplines with different perspectives and different life experiences.
And then during El Camino, again, it's not just a hiking trip, it's how you make connections while doing the hiking and how you learn about people.
There are so many metaphors and so many lessons that come from walking the Camino. People always ask me, why do you keep going back? Why don't you go somewhere else? So I think it depends on the reason that people walk the Camino. But I would say that regardless of whether they're feeling sad or happy or just reflective, they're more present than they are typically. So it's those things, I think, the Camino often teaches this lesson, and if we're not open to listening and learning from those lessons, then they'll just be lost on us. And
hello, pilgrims. Welcome to the Way to Your Way podcast. Today, I'm here. You have here your host, Efrain Mendoza, and I help pilgrims to know more about the Camino de Santiago, knowing different optics from different people. And today we have here two guests from NC State University. They are going to be talking about the Camino de Santiago. We have with us today, we have Maru Gonzalez and we have Cintia Aguilar, right? And they are going to be leading a program that is called Study Abroad. They work for the Department of Agriculture and Sciences, Human Sciences. And they're going to be leading a study abroad program that they're going to be mixing the Camino de Santiago with Barcelona, where first they're going to be going to Barcelona, and then they are going to do a section of the Camino de Santiago. Then Cintia have walked the Camino twice, and then Maru, she said that she have walked probably about 15 times the Camino. And they are going with a group of students that there's going to be about 15 students that they are going to go in next May. Probably this episode is going to go after they return, but they are going to be having that experience. So welcome, Maru and Cintia. So how are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having us.
Okay. Thank you for being here today. So tell me how this program, Study Abroad, mixing Barcelona with the Camino, started working, because you did already one time, right?
We did, and the official name of the study abroad course is called Spain, Culture and Community Engagement in Barcelona and the Camino de Santiago. And I teach in the Department of Agricultural and Human Sciences. As you mentioned, my area of focus is in youth development. Okay. And ever since I started at NC State in 2018, I knew I wanted to do a study abroad program. I knew that I wanted part of that study abroad program to be on the Camino de Santiago. I just didn't know exactly how my area of focus would align with the Camino de Santiago. So I started doing some research on other study abroad programs at other universities that went to the Camino de Santiago. And I found a program at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill that did an arts-based program on the Camino. I don't think it exists anymore, but I actually reached out to the instructors. There were two instructors and they taught two classes simultaneously. They actually walked the entire Camino. And so I said, hey, is it okay if I take you out for coffee? I want to learn more about the process of doing a study abroad program, specifically on the Camino de Santiago. So that helped, sort of continue to shape this idea. And so we were supposed to do it initially in 2020. And then COVID hit. So we had to put the idea on the back burner. And then in 2023, we were finally able to do it. But I lived in Barcelona for a couple of years. So I thought, okay, we could combine Barcelona and focus on community engagement there. And then the piece about culture and cultural immersion, that makes sense to do on the Camino. And so that's sort of how the program is structured. It's a combination of community engagement and cultural immersion.
Oh, that's great to know. And actually, what you just mentioned about the program with the UNC in Chapel Hill, I also spoke with one of the professors there,
Mm.
and she mentioned that the program run for about 6 years. And so probably we're gonna have also a program with them as well.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
and then what about you, Cynthia? How did you join to this program?
Well, I keep telling Maru that I just going to be grateful with her for the rest of my life because
Okay.
she invited me to be part of this journey. And the reason why I accepted to help with the project is because I do believe in the immersion programs. Through my years of extension at North Carolina State University, I had organized domestic immersion, domestic, international, and in the border programs for
Okay.
professionals. But this was an opportunity to work with the youth or future professionals, college students. So when she approached me and asked me if I would be interested in helping with the program, and say yes. And the personal level, the El Camino was in my bucket list because I love outdoors. I love.
Okay.
I told her. I remember I told her at the beginning, yeah, I'd be happy to help. And the great thing is that we built everything from the scratch. But I said, but I'm a slow hiker. I
Okay.
will be the last maybe, but I will make it. And she said, oh, that's perfect because then we would be one in the front and one in the back. So
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. And the Camino accepts everyone.
exactly.
So it doesn't matter the rhythm, how fast you're going, you're going to be okay.
Exactly.
Okay. And talking specifically about this Camino, the one that you're going to be walking, so the combination between Barcelona and the Camino, the section, I believe that this, you say between Logroño and Burgos, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you're going to be walking. Okay. So you're going to be walking for how many days?
We'll be walking about 6 days.
6 days?
Yep. The program in total is about 2 weeks. So half of it essentially is in Barcelona and half of it is on the Camino de Santiago.
Okay. Are you going to be arriving first to Barcelona?
We'll be in Barcelona first. And Barcelona we have a full schedule. We have a lot going on. And it's community engagement work. So we're really immersed in doing that work in Barcelona. And so then having that first then gives us an opportunity when we're on the Camino de Santiago to really do a lot of reflection work, thinking about and processing all that we learned in Barcelona, in addition to making those really important and meaningful cultural connections.
Okay. And tell me something. When the students find out about this program, what do they say about that? So any expression that they have to tell you to any of you?
Well, I think students are intrigued, but I think they're intrigued for different reasons. So we have students from across all disciplines, both undergraduate and graduate students. And there are some who really want to go because they're excited about the Camino de Santiago. Others are excited about Barcelona. There was one student who is really interested in the architecture of Barcelona and Gaudí. And then there's another student who's studying agriculture, and he's interested in like the agriculture on the Camino de Santiago. So I think that's what makes this program so rich, is that we have students from different disciplines with different perspectives and different life experiences. And so they're all coming to this program from a different angle, and we'll be able to bring a lot of that rich insight to the table, which will make it all that more meaningful for the rest of us.
Okay, and when you return all, do the students have to do any special project about what do they did over there?
Yeah, they do have to do a project, but the big final project they'll be presenting while we're on site in Spain.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a project called Stories and Symbols, and so it's an opportunity for them to gather artifacts and then also gather stories of people that they've met, particularly not just on the Camino, but also in Barcelona, focusing specifically on the Camino for this specific project, gathering stories of people that they've met and also gathering symbols to present sort of a comprehensive snapshot of what their experience was like.
Okay, sounds great. And then I imagine that all the logistic that you prepare, both of you prepare, in order to have this like a final product when you started working next month, take you long hours to accomplish, correct?
Yeah, it does, because it's a lot of logistics, and it's also kind of having to go through the university system, which puts another layer of complication onto it. But it's well worth it. It's a lot of work. It's our second time around, so we're getting used to it. I think it's, we learn the ropes a little bit, and the second time around, we're able to sort of build on our knowledge from the first time. But it's tedious work for sure. And I think when we did it the first time, we didn't know how much work it would be.
But also, I think we didn't know how impactful it was going to be. Because I think this, for me being, I had done it once, and this is going to be my second time. But I think the fact that this is not just another class or a tourist trip, right? This is really helping the students to connect with the communities that they are in. Like they are doing community engagement in Barcelona. And then in doing El Camino, again, it's not just a hiking trip, it's how you make connections while doing the hiking, and how you learn about people. And I think the bottom line is to help them to get out of their comfort zone. And I think that's something that the students value. I think in general, the students who participate in study abroad programs is because they want to get out of their comfort zone, and they want to learn what is there. They understand the not everywhere looks like US, right? And we have a student which I think is making it interesting, the students that have traveled, have experience travel, and there are other students that this is going to be their first time out of US. So again, our goal is how can we help them to get out of their comfort zone and connect with that community, learn something from them, and especially, even though it's a short period of time, how to process. Because like I was saying earlier, the 2023, when they presented the project, I think we didn't expect it for them to really invest so much emotionally and professionally, even though they were still students. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes. I believe that this is a great experience for the students, because they are going to help to understand how the work is working, and then how do they can apply when they return back that for their life. That's for life.
Absolutely. And just to build on what Cynthia said, that the importance of connection, especially being able to connect with people who are from different countries, people who speak different languages, people who have different life experiences, and really recognizing that all of those things are barriers if we make them barriers, but they don't need to be. And that at the end of the day, we have so much more in common than what separates us. And that's a lesson of the Camino. And it can be a transformative experience.
Yes, and the other thing is that when they come back, we're gonna have new ambassadors for the Camino, because when people go to the Camino, they start talking about the Camino like we are doing here today.
Right, absolutely.
And then, so by the experience that you have had already, that walking the Camino de Santiago, and this is the question for both of you. So let's start with Maru, and then you, Cynthia, compliment with that. So what would you say that is something that that is always on your mind about the Camino de Santiago, an experience that you have had?
Any experience that I have had?
Yes.
Yeah, like a specific one specific.
Something that you say, wow, this was something that amazing. This is something great that happened.
Well, I met my spouse on the Camino.
Wow.
So that's something, that's a memorable thing for sure. But I think there have been so many experiences that I've had because I've been doing the first Camino that I did was in 2008.
Okay.
And when I did the first Camino, and this was back before people carried around cell phones. So it was an opportunity for me to really just disconnect from all of the hustle and bustle of everyday life and reconnect with myself and reconnect with what matters and kind of recenter everything. And that's not something I had an opportunity to do in a long time. And just having an opportunity where physically every day I was exhausted, but my mind and my spirit were rested. And that's something that when I went back to the United States, I really craved. And I think a lot of people who do the Camino really crave that. And that in addition to the connections that I made year after year after year with people who ordinarily I wouldn't interact with, right? So I have met, like a botanist from Pamplona, and one of my dearest friends was an older retired truck driver from Italy, and he didn't know how to speak any other language than Italian. And so he spoke a little bit of Spanish, and so we communicated. Really, I would speak Spanish and he would speak Italian, and we would understand about 50% of what the other person was saying. But just having opportunities like really being able to connect with someone who on the surface you seem to have nothing in common with, that's really special. And that's not something that happens all that often outside of the Camino. And so yeah, rather than just one specific instance, I think just the entire experience of being able to reconnect with yourself, recenter, kind of think about what's really meaningful in life, because I think we often forget. I also like the metaphor of everything that you really need, you can pack into a backpack, and everything else is just baggage, right? And so as you're walking, you're releasing emotional baggage, but you're also releasing that physical baggage that's weighing you down. I mean, there are so many metaphors and so many lessons that come from walking the Camino. People always ask me, why do you keep going back? Why don't you go somewhere else? And it's because every experience is different. And every time you do the Camino, you learn something new about yourself, about the world, about other people, and you make connections that you otherwise wouldn't be able to make.
That's great. That's fantastic. And what about you, Cynthia?
Well, again, since I had done it only once, but for me, I think the one of those experiences that really impacted me is solidarity, la solidaridad de la gente. Like Maru was saying earlier, it's just you feel in a place and a space where it doesn't matter how you look or who you are or what language you speak. You are just, even if you don't talk, that if something happened, I don't know, just the feeling you would help me. And more specifically, and the experience is that when we one of the trails that we were walking or leaving a town, it started raining, and it was really, really like in a storm. So our group, I think it was like half, right? The one that we were in the back, we were divided like in three groups. One and two groups were like in the middle of the forest, and then I was in another one just leaving the town. But the point is that even though it was scary, Maru and I was communicating, trying to find out where he was, because it was where everybody was, if everybody was so safe or not. But then immediately it was people helping, right? I mean, everybody arrived to the hostel that we were staying safe. And that is, again, is people caring for each other. And I remember one of the stories, how she was by herself, one of our students, but along with other people. And when it started raining, they tried to protect themselves from a house. But then the owner of the house open the garage, let them in, let them even give them some clothes to change, give them food. You know, it was, and the funny part was in Logroño, when we ended, we were in one of the hostels, and we were talking with somebody about the experience, and then they said, "Oh, you are from the NC State group, and we met this student." Well, this student was with them when they were caught in the middle of the rain. Does it make sense? So it's just
Yes.
again, when you hear that, you know, when for me being the first experience, I was worried about the students, you know, but then immediately I just realized they're going to be fine because people cares to help each other. That's,
Yes.
And I think
yes.
I think that the thing too is that, you know, in our day-to-day lives, we're always thinking about the differences that separate us. On the Camino, everybody's literally and figuratively on the same path, right? We're all having the same experience. At the end of the day, we all come back. We all have, you know, achy knees, and we're tending to blisters, and we're all hungry, and we're all tired. And so it becomes that much more apparent how common, you know, how much in common we have. And I think that sense of unity creates a sense of empathy and compassion, and a sense of community where everybody just wants to help each other, because it really is, it's a community.
Yes, absolutely. Community and solidarity.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes. So then also when walking with those caminos that you have walked already, when you see that people that, yes, there is solidarity and there is a community involved, but then when you see that people, how that people is looking like. So I mean, is it happy, is sad, how they are looking?
Well, I think it depends, because people walk the Camino for different reasons, right? As some people are retired, and so they have extra time on their hands. It's something that they've always wanted to do, right? It's on their bucket list. And then there are other people who are in a sort of a life transition. They're between jobs. Maybe they just graduated from high school or college, and they're figuring out their next steps. Some people do it because they're grieving, right? They're grieving the loss of a relationship. They're grieving the loss of a loved one. And so I think it depends on the reason that people walk the Camino. But I would say that regardless of whether they're feeling sad or happy or just reflective, they're more present than they are typically. And I think that's an important distinction.
Yes, that's absolutely right, and that's what I'm going to take to say this point. I spoke with a life coach in a previous past episode, and we were talking about that sometimes we are so aggressive with the goals that we put in different things, not just on life, through tasks, through what we are studying, etc., etc. And being that aggressive sometimes means that we are like a kind of down, because when we are not able to accomplish what we were looking, then we feel sad. And that the life coach was explaining to me, it doesn't matter. So you accomplished something of what you were pursuing. And that's exactly what happened on the Camino. That people have different goals. And an example here is that sometimes a person can say, I'm going to walk the Camino from San Jean-Pied-de-Port to Santiago. But maybe too many things may happen in an almost 800-kilometer distance. And maybe that person is not able to accomplish the whole Camino. And that doesn't matter, because that person, well, he or she was able to accomplish, is something that is going to keep him or her during the whole life.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I
that's
can
the
definitely,
previous, the degree.
I can definitely speak to that because there have been certainly times, especially when I first started walking caminos, where I was like, oh, I want to see if I can walk this many kilometers, and right, like I would put goals on myself, and I would have expectations of I'm going to reach Santiago in this many days, and those sorts of things, rather than just saying, you know, I'm going to be open to whatever the Camino has to offer. And if that means walking less one day, then I walk less one day. And I learned an important lesson in that when I was walking the Camino Primitivo. And actually, that's the Camino where I met my husband. Was I was walking. I had walked quite a long distance, and I stayed in this one albergue that was like a kilometer off of the Camino. And the hospitalera told me, oh, you don't have to walk that 1 kilometer back to get on the Camino the following day. You can take this shortcut and then get back on the Camino. And I was like, okay, great, I'll take the shortcut. I shouldn't have taken the shortcut. I mean, I guess in retrospect, I should have taken the shortcut because it ended up turning out well for me. But I'm not good at directions, as Cynthia can attest. But so I tried to take the shortcut, and I was lost on a mountain for 3 hours, and I was running out of water, and it was really hot. But then that's when I actually met who would become my future husband, right? Is that it was not expected. The Camino had thrown this sort of wrench, lesson learned. And that's how I ended up meeting my future spouse. So it's those things. I think like the Camino often teaches this lesson, and if we're not open to listening and learning from those lessons, then they'll just be lost on us. And so that
Okay.
turned out well for me.
That's really good. And then, so what kind of recommendations would you give to someone that doesn't know anything about knows something about the Camino, but are not sure of walking the Camino or no, don't know when it's going to be walking the Camino? And what kind of recommendation you tell to that person that in order to take the first step to start planning?
Well, I think if anybody is having any hesitations, because I hear this all the time, like, oh, I just don't feel like I'm in the best shape to do the Camino. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can walk that many kilometers or miles. And I think what's important to know is that there's no one right way to walk the Camino. And you can walk as many kilometers or as few kilometers as you would like. And especially on a Camino like the Camino Frances that has so much infrastructure. There are lots of different accommodations, right? Whether you want to stay in an albergue or a hotel or a pension, there are options literally every 5 kilometers. And so on that front, I think I would just say do it, right? Even if physically you're doubting yourself, you don't have to be a triathlete to walk the Camino. Really, anybody can do it. Even people with physical disabilities. There are websites where people with physical disabilities who are interested in doing the Camino can do it. People with kids. I've walked part of the Camino with my kids, and so I would just say, like, stop doubting and just do it. And then from there, there's an abundance of information online about packing lists and places to stay and things like that. And so yeah, I would just go for it. The first time I did it in 2008, I was supposed to do it with my cousin because I was afraid of doing it by myself. And I kept waiting for my cousin, and his plans changed. And at first I was like, should I do it? Or, I don't know if I want to do it by myself. I'm afraid of traveling by myself. I'm a single woman. And then at the end of the day, it was like, you know what? I've been wanting to do this for years. This is something that I'm just going to do, and I'm just going to go for it. And I did it, and it really couldn't have turned out any better. So that's another thing too, is that people think that they have to go with someone. And I love doing the Camino with people, but I also love doing it by myself because I think it really forces you out of your comfort zone. and forces you to meet and connect with new people. So yeah, my advice would be just do it.
Yeah.
I think that will be mine to do it because you want to do it and not because you need to prove it, even to yourself, to other people. Because when you do it because you want to do it, you will find what are those things that you need to do to be successful in what you decide to do. Does that make sense? For example, Maru and I think we are very different in the way that we do it. Not only age, but, she's younger and older. But, for example, she's a fast walker or hiker, and she carries her backpack during the whole thing, and all this time, all the 15 times you had always carried your backpack, right? I learned, because that was something else that I asked Maru when she invited me to be part of this. I said, do I need to carry my backpack? Because I cannot do that now in my life. I used to do it, but not anymore. And she said, oh, no problem. You can choose to, there is a service that they can transfer you don't carry that much, but your suitcase from one hostel to another one. So I said, okay, wonderful. So I carry my day pack and that's it. But then we also find moments where, she slowed down to be with us, or we go a little bit faster. So the point is the more important is do it again because you want to do it. Try to know what will make you feel comfortable. Meaning that, do I really need to carry this? Do I need to really do all these many miles? Just think about what really will be something that you will enjoy and not to suffer. So this is many ways to do it.
And don't set too many expectations, because those expectations can end up being limitations.
One ritual that I learned, the one of the first things that I understood the meaning until I was that is the buen viaje saying, for those
Buen camino.
el buen camino. Is when you are hiking, walking, you just run into each other and maybe you don't talk, but buen camino, So that is the desire. Do enjoy it. That to me, that's how I see it. When you say that to some people, is because you say, hey, enjoy it. Don't worry about anything else. Just leave it. And you're saying to yourself too, I guess.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. And at the end, if for some reason you cannot keep walking, that's fine. There is a lot of infrastructure around it. So you can call a taxi, something like that. Maybe it cannot go exactly to the point where you are, but to some place close where you are. So that's super, super valid. And then I know that we are over time already. So what we can do is that I know that we most likely is going to have a second part of this interview once you return back. Then it would be great if some of the students can join us. Would be fantastic for them to tell us about their opinions, how was the experience that they tell. So all other people around that are watching us, that way they keep growing this program, because I believe that it's a great program that what you are doing there. And I've been working directly with the Camino since almost 2 years, and I enjoy so much every single second that I'm working, because it's like a passion, and it's something that people are feeling happy in general of what they are doing and what they are working. So if you have anything else to say, this is the time for you to say it. If not, we will see you on our next episode.
No, I think I'm just looking forward to it. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds great.
Meet a lot of new people, nice people in El Camino.
Yeah, you're gonna be meeting a lot of people while you're over there, different kind of people. I also live in Barcelona, like I was mentioning to you the other day, Maru, and there is a lot of things that you can do there. You're gonna enjoy Gaudí, all these things in Barcelona. Amazing, but the city by itself is great. The metro, the trains, as if you're gonna take any trains, so they are fantastic. And then enjoy, have a good time, talk to many people, learn a lot, because I know that you're gonna be learning a lot of things, even though that you have done the Camino several times. There is plenty to learn every day of life. And buen camino. And I myself am going to the Camino as well in April the 25th. I'm leaving to Porto, and then I'm coming back on May the 6th, I believe.
Great.
So once you have the time, after you return, just let me know, and then we will have it.
Yeah, I did Porto to Santiago in 2014. 2013.
And how was that experience?
It was good. I wish I would have taken the coastal route. I did, yeah. So it was a lot of walking on the side of the road. But I think it's probably better if you take the coastal route.
Yeah, well, that's what we're gonna be taking the coastal road.
Yeah,
but from Bayona, not from Porto.
Okay, it's really beautiful once you get to Bayona. Yeah, because from Porto, it's the first part is a lot of like the first day. I think I walked 36 kilometers, mostly on the side of the road.
Did you? Oh, you didn't do the coastal, but there is a ferry that you take when you are doing the coastal. I have not taken because I'm starting in Spain, but I know that there is a ferry that this is an adventure as well to have that section of the Camino.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, thank you very much for being here today. And thank you, Pilgrim, for watching us today. And I hope that this episode helped you on taking your decision for going to the Camino. You have not decided yet. And then we're going to be looking for other episodes. And please remember always to include your comments on the comment sections. That way we know what are the topics that you would like to be discussed in future episodes. Thank you very much, and buen camino.